Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us live from Museum and Gallery from University Science Malaysia, Penang, Malaysia. Okay. For today, we are going to present to you a live walkthrough of our exhibition. Before that, let me introduce the speakers for today. I have Associate Professor Hasnul together with me. He's the director of the museum. I have Dr. Katriana, who is currently behind the camera. We are all the curators for this exhibition. Before we get to go to the live walkthrough, I would like to ask a handover of camera for a while so that Dr. Katriana can introduce the exhibition together with me. Okay, thank you. Okay, so let's talk a bit about Sensoria before we go into the live walkthrough. So Sensoria is actually an exhibition that illuminates more than the 5 human senses that we have of our sight, smell, sound, and all. We are trying to explore more. We are trying to convey a deeper connection to the senses of human and surrounding, including the spectrums of light, how we react to nature, how we are aware of the surroundings.
And, yes, and the key elements of this exhibition is multidisciplinary. It engages with audience. It has interactivity. It has themes in which our audience can ponder upon, and then it uses technology, low-tech and high-tech technology. Yes,
yes. So it involves about 22 artworks by creative practitioners or academicians from the School of Arts, University Science Malaysia. So for today's eCulture session, maybe we'd like to talk first about the overall theme of the exhibition.
So the themes which are recurring in these exhibitions are healing and well-being, nature, and sustainability of heritage through technology. So these are the 3 main themes in this exhibition.
Yes. So let's go slowly into the exhibition, and I would like to first start with the culture of traditional cosmology in a village or life setting of our own Malaysian kampung culture, which is shown through the artwork of Hasnul. So,
okay.
Yes.
I have to pass this camera.
Let me take the camera.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, Najwa and Dr. Ted. My name is Hasnul Saidun. This is my media installation. It is called Senadi, which means sharing the same impulses with nature. This media installation displays the selected results of what I call artistic and reflexive activities that I've been doing for the past 6 years at a riverside village in a place called Sedin. The activities can be summarized as a process of healing by reconnecting with nature. The project began with the purchase of a small piece of land, followed by construction of a house inspired by the local traditional Malay cosmology and shelter system. The construction had somehow required me to engage in a multidisciplinary research as well as practice. That includes numerous site visits to many places inside and outside Malaysia, meetings with individuals, casual conversation with individuals, new friends who share similar interests and sentiment with me. Also complemented by my readings of materials related to my research interests. I've been interested in exploring traditional cosmology through the language of physics, language of new media, through the language of sustainability, wellness, mental health, and most importantly, healing. So the process includes creative works such as drawings, as you can see here, some of my drawings, paintings, also video making, also blog writing, and also songwriting, and sharing reflexive notes through social media. I also work collaboratively with several individuals, one of which, for example, in this one, hold on. This is a section where I collaborated with Hakimi to create augmented reality rain, which is one of the phenomena that has inspired me, that can be taken as very healing as well. I also collaborated with a photographer and designer, Farid Zainuddin, to come up with this artist book, and collaborated with my wife. She's a very talented, well-known batik painter. She painted this over here, that painting. So I also did a lot of video works, which I presented through. One example is through this holographic pen to create a different ways of experiencing how I engage with the Sedim River. And I allow the audience to also access some of my videos in my YouTube channel by using the QR code, because I don't want to crowd this installation space with too many videos. And I also show my journal based on my readings. And I allow the audience to also draw and write down their opinions in regards to sustainability, in regards to the rainforest, to trees, and so on and so forth. So I allow the space to be a performative space where the audience can also engage with the same topic with me. Plus also this section where I make my video and allow the audience to share their wishes and their dream, their prayers together with me. So by doing so, I engage my audience with this so-called my process of healing. The whole project has allowed me to be, in silence, to be calm, to engage, to confront my mental and emotional pains in a much healthier way, to allow me to take care of the quality of my inner beingness, mentally and emotionally. Most importantly, to allow me to gain clarity and becoming a better human being. So that's it. Thank you very much for listening to my description.
Thank you. Thank
Bye-bye.
you so much. Thank
Back
you
to
so much.
Najwa.
We actually have a recording of the augmented rain just to
Alright.
show the audience.
Okay, hold on. I'm opening
Okay.
the video.
So this is how it will look like. You have to scan and then you will get. Yes. So that is the AR part of this artwork. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Hasno. So that is one of the themes that we're doing here for Sensoria, for eCulture. Next, we will go into the theme of traditional culture being represented in digital forms. Okay, so this is the exhibition. So Dr. Katrina will introduce one of the artworks first. related to the theme of digital representation of Malaysian cultural heritage.
This is a work by Julina Ismail. So Julina Ismail is an animation lecturer from the New Media Department, in which here she wants to recreate and preserve Mak Yung and Bangsawan themes. Here you can see two elements. One is a holographic fan, and one is a digital print animations character of wearing Mak Yung costume and accessories, and also bangsawan.
Yes.
And the characters are extended in an animated form, in which you can see the movement and the attire in three-dimensional, in which you can see them rotating. You can see the front part, you can see the side and back. So it is a heritage in transition. It's being preserved through digital
Means, yes.
digital innovation.
Yes. Next, we will go to the next installation. Yes.
An installation which involves just a moment.
Just a moment. Let's go to okay. So two of the artists in this exhibition actually uses graphic design to create traditional batik motifs and project that using projection mapping. So this is one example of how she uses our own batik motifs, specifically the hibiscus motif, and created a space where audience can actually be involved to take photos together with the artwork. And then we also have one which is actually showing a projection mapping of the many different elements in sensoria, including nature, waves, sound waves. Let's just look at the flow. And also batik motifs in digital form. So they're trying to actually show the traditional culture in a different media as part of the installation called Depth by Dr. Ashik Wilson. So yes, actually there's another one which is the motion capture. For this exhibition, this artist actually uses motion capture to capture the movements of a traditional martial art, which is called silat, using the traditional dagger of keris. Okay. Okay. So that is the theme of traditional culture being represented through digital means. So now we're going to take you to the last theme of the exhibition related to eCulture, which is the culture of shadow play. So this is my artwork. Okay, so this is my artwork. It involves the theme of butterfly. So it has different layers and materials. For example, the first one, I use origami papers to show the butterflies flying and disappearing into the air. There's a backdrop of illuminated light rising above, and also the use of transparent acrylic with butterfly illustration. So the message for this installation is actually to show about nature preservation and appreciating both the tangible as well as the intangible things that we have now. So audience can actually use the torchlight to create a modern take of shadow play. So let me just demonstrate a bit. So the shadow play part here is created by the audience. So they can use the torchlight to create their own shadows, do the co-creation of the artwork. while actually trying to get the hidden message of this artwork, which is to not only focus on what is left behind, which is in this case the shadows, but we must also appreciate the present, the tangible ones. So that is the message of using shadow play in a modern adaptation method. So let's now go to the same theme, which is an artwork by Tetriana. She is also looking and exploring the culture of shadow play in her artwork with some added elements of healing.
This is an installation which consists of drawings and paper cut works. And here I also adapted the concept of shadow play, which is also frequently used in traditional arts. So this is an interactive element in which audience can play around with the work, and they can also co-create with this installation. They can photograph the shadows created by this paper card. They can also videotape it, so they can create their own artwork together with this installation. So this is the
Yes.
okay. So this drawing is a process of drawing therapy for me, because I use drawing as a therapeutic process, drawing and paper cutting. So it's a continuous process for me, in which I created this artwork for about 1 year. It's an ongoing process. And I also infuse part of the paper with dried flowers, yalang-yalang or kenanga, to for aromatherapy.
Yeah, and
Yes.
also the sensory part of this
Yes.
exhibition. So it relates to art therapy as well, right?
Yes.
Dr. Ted, your artwork, the style of drawing.
Yes. So because drawings and art activity takes away our focus from problems, and also it helps calms some people, but mostly yes. But in my case, it calms me down. So this is part of a therapeutic process for me, this whole installation.
Yes. So if we still have time, I hope we still have time, I would like to show one last artwork by a graphic communication lecturer. She explores the use of games and apps to actually show how children can play in digital format the traditional games. For example, our own gasing or spinning top, tarik uping, a traditional game.
Yes,
Yes.
using coconut frond.
Yes,
So you pull, somebody will sit on the coconut frond, and then you, the other person will pull it.
And the last one, our Malaysian kite, wow. So she explored these 3 traditional games and tried to do it in a game format. So let me just show you a little bit. So for example, you can choose the games here. Let's just play the spinning top. So she purposely made this game to be quite challenging. Okay, so the idea of playing spinning top traditionally is that you need to knock your opponent off the platform. It is very difficult to play this game. So she tried to imitate that in game form as well. So yes, I'm still not winning yet. Very difficult. Okay, so this is part of her research in showing how we can preserve culture, especially for children. Okay. Okay. Sorry for not winning that game. So that is all regarding the artworks of Sensoria. And let me just go back to Professor to tell the audience a bit about what your hope is when people go go into sensoria.
Maybe we go with
Yeah,
the background.
All right. Okay. Which is background.
Yes, as
Yeah.
a conclusion.
As a conclusion, okay. Okay. People will come to see. I know it's COVID-19 situation where we have very stringent SOP. That's one of the challenges that we are facing now as a museum and gallery. But I really hope many people will be able to come, to enjoy and to experience because of many factors, one of which those who are interested to know about the arts, they can come here and learn a bit about the arts. Another one is that this exhibition is very engaging, very interactive. It involves audience intervention, audience co-creation. Audience can participate in creating their own experience together with the works. It is also very multidisciplinary, involves many different disciplines of art, not just painting and drawing like we normally used to. So it will be a very engaging experience, especially those who are interested to know more about the programs offered by USM. Okay, I
Yes,
think
you're
that's about it.
promoting our school too to the
Yeah,
international
the School of the
people.
Arts in USM, University
Yes.
of Science Malaysia.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Last word.
No, I think that wraps up our presentation. Thank you so much for joining us for the live walkthrough of OC Sensoria. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your presentation. If I could maybe pass on some comments out of the chat. Absolutely spectacular multi-sensory experience. All of us are looking at this thinking how amazingly cool it is. And I'm sure we're going to try to draw some ideas for our own installation work, but great work. It looks
Thank
really,
you so much
really
for the kind words. Thank you so much.
okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions for the team?
I have a question.
Oh no.
I'm wondering the first exhibition, what was the sensoria that you're trying to present? Is it taste, smell, touch, and the others as well? Thank you.
Okay. So we do explore the 5 human senses, which is the smell, the sight, the sound, the touch. There are some with textures, tactile experiences for people to actually touch. And actually the last one would be the taste, right? But that is not, sadly not possible because of COVID. Actually, we have a set of things that people can taste to feel sensoria, but it's not able to be done because we are not able to do the opening ceremony. So that is just the one missing part. But it is like we said in the beginning, it's more than just the 5 senses. It involves the sense of surrounding, the sense of space, how you connect, the connection and all. So yeah, we are exploring more than the 5 senses.
Well-being, it's about cosmology, it's about environment. So it's more than just an individual senses.
Yes.
So would you say if you you go to the exhibition, then you get the sense around of the sensoria, because we're watching online, so it's kind of different, isn't it?
Yes, yes. It is definitely better physically. Definitely better. You're able to touch, you're able to feel, even when you go inside the space out from the outside, for example. Let me just go do a quick show. Because it's very bright. Malaysia is always very bright and sunny, right? So when you go into the exhibition, you get the sensoria feel already. It's the setting, the mood there. We have set it to be like very dark, mysterious. We have physical installation of dried twigs to get the sensoria feel. So yes, it's better physically to experience physically. Yes, you're able to sit down, take photos. A lot of the installations here also caters to the young adults now, the youth who like to take OOTD photos, who like to take a lot of backdrop for their own social media posting. So we cater to that. Every corner of Sensoria, you're able to take at least 30 different. Yes. It's like that's every corner you can post here, can post there. So yeah, we are also catering to that as well. It's up to how you interpret the artworks.
So the audience experience can also be variable according to the age
Yes.
and experience.
Experience and also the level.
Yes.
Yep.
So there are also you can also experience it in a way it can be a fun environment or fun interactive activities. Yes, you can also be in a safe space where you can feel comfort and fun experience. And you can also be contemplative of the themes that we highlighted.
Yes. This is made by the audience actually, how they feel about Sensoria, what are the senses. So it's a doodling spot for them. So we have a lot of interesting corners for people to explore, not just looking at walls or just like a plain exhibition. It's supposed to be very interactive. That's our goal. Okay.
Right.
Yes.
I'm sure you're exhausted by now.
Yes.
Exhausted walking.
It's just a walking. It's a big space.
A
Yeah.
big area, yeah. Okay. Anybody else has any question, Andrew?
Yeah, one more question is there.
Yeah.
Suhaimi Nafis asked that Dr. Safia is the idea behind Sensoria as curator, right? Even the name and logo.
Branding.
Are you asking about the branding?
Suhaimi Nafis, can you explain better? Can you ask the question and unmute yourself?
Okay, what's the idea? Whose idea behind Sensoria? Who actually did the name or came up with the name Sensoria, and so the logo and all the whatever the backdrop?
Okay, so it's a joint. Okay, let me just take my break. It's a joint effort, but for the branding, we are trying to highlight the mysteriousness of the senses that we can explore. That's why it's a very dark mood setting. We highlight the twigs, for example, dried twigs, to show the connection of artists and their surrounding. The message is when we use twigs, we are all from the same source, like a tree. And then we are all venturing and developing in our own ways, which is the twigs. So it's like from the source, but we're working together for one purpose. So that is the idea of Sensoria. And also the font used for Sensoria, if you notice, it's a bit highlighted compared to the background. We purposely use dark colors, but Sensoria itself is very highlighted and using handwriting style because we want to show the delicateness of our curatorial approach and how everything is, we are trying our best to handcraft every single artwork exhibited in this exhibition. That's the kind of the summary of the brand.
Yeah, so if I may add, so these themes are being brainstormed by the curatorial team, which is me, Najwa, and the museum's teams together with Professor.
Yes.
So we came up with the idea and then we presented it to them. And from there, we discussed the possibilities of expanding and enhancing this exhibition. And Najwa also helped enhance the branding with the graphic elements and the designs of the banner and some of the sections of the exhibition.
Yeah. And if you notice, I always like to highlight that this feature wall was actually to show that we love Sensoria so much. We painted ourselves this one. Tatiana and me, we painted this to show how our senses can go beyond just using printed stuff.
Right.
Should
I
be
think there's a
important.
question. There's a
Question.
question from Dr. Nurul, Andrew.
Oh, hi.
Hello.
Oh.
Hello.
Oh.
Hi,
Hello.
Dr.
Hi.
Hi, Najwa.
Hello.
Professional. I'm Nurul.
He's not here.
Basno is
Yeah.
around.
Somewhere.
First of all, it is an amazing virtual visit. So thank you so much for sharing this with us. And the artwork is fantastic. So I am really keen to go and actually get my hand, not dirty, but get my hand touching all the exhibits, the
Yes.
artifacts to explore. So my question is, I remember just now Professor mentioned about the challenge of the COVID, and therefore I'm assuming that the numbers of the visitors might be going low, have gone low, have reduced. So is there any methods for people outside of Malaysia? I mean, it's also a challenge, but also an opportunity for the exhibition to be heard and to be accessed out, you know. So is there any links or any way that we can share this so that people can actually see like what you've done here? Is there any website that we can go? Is there any application that we can use so that we can spend our time visiting the exhibition virtually?
Okay. So the full walkthrough of the virtual exhibition is actually still in progress. We're trying to do the best version, which is 4K. So that is taking time because of the restrictions of the videographer to come in. So it's still ongoing, but in terms of digitally promoting, for example, or showing people what we have here to attract, we do use several social media. One of it is the museum's social media, and then we try our best to get TV,
National TV, yes.
national TV appearances. We have some newspapers writing about us. Hopefully, there'll be some exposure that can be heard internationally as well. But the virtual one is currently in progress because yeah.
Yes.
And digital catalog also in progress or slow because of COVID.
Yes, we actually want to encourage physical participation in the exhibition. So typically people don't exhibit or don't show the whole views of exhibition to audience. But this time around, we feel that we must show a lot more, because we want audience interactions or more interest to come in. Yes, as Najwa has already mentioned that we are also in the process of producing a walkthrough of this exhibition so that it can also be experienced digitally. And may I also inform that people can view some of the works through MGPF USM. Let me just put Instagram.
Let me just put in the chat box. Let me just write something.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
for the
question.
And really nice work. I can imagine the nights, the sleepless night drawing that backdrop.
I insist to make it handmade. I don't want it to be printed like banner. No,
Very nice. Congratulations for getting the exhibition out during COVID. So yeah, that's a big challenge.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you
Thank
so much for everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Oh, he's here now.
Hi, Prosnol.
Bye.
You get also an extra audience. Extra audience watching this exhibition.
We are going on a bit more time because according to our schedule, right? The next speaker will be up in another 5 minutes. But since Prof Hasnul is here, can I ask him a question?
Yes.
Don't ask difficult question, please. I am tired.
Oh, okay, quick one. So you
Okay.
have site, site, technical, all. But what about sound?
Sound. I didn't focus on sound that much this time because I have to respect other people's works. Because sounds, when it comes to exhibition design, normally we need to use, they call it sound dome, so that the speaker is inside a sound dome, so that the sound will not bleed. Or we have to use earphone, which the minus side of earphone is only single user, cannot be multiple audience. So I have decided, because this time it is a group show, I have to consider how my works can sort of having a positive dialogue with other works instead of destroying or disturbing other works. So I don't use that much of a sound, but I understand sound is very important healing medium, which I didn't really explore through these works, but maybe next works.
Yeah, and also may I add, it's also because we have a sound artist next to the area of Prof. Hasno's work, so not to clash. So this is a sound artist also exploring healing. Okay, so his installation involves a lot of interactive things that you can play around. Yes. Okay.
So he's very sensitive to sound, in which he creates soundscape through compositions of everyday objects and so the sounds from surroundings. So these kind of sounds are being composed through some
we don't know how to explain, but yeah, from all these devices, you can actually be a composer of your own sort of music or sound.
So here he allows audience to create their own sound as well. So to compose their own sound
I have
through
another
these
question.
found objects.
Yeah. Okay.
Nurul.
Johan pun sound. Yeah, we have a few young. Yep. On
I have
sound.
another-
Dr. Nurul has a question.
Yes.
Yes. My question, sorry, I was just looking at how you with COVID. This is very much because the challenge of COVID, and it's good to have this shared. So the exhibition allow the visitors to come in, and clearly this is a sensoria. So you actually allow people to touch and feel. How do you deal with the COVID SOP? When how do you actually? I can see the typewriter is an old typewriter. So how do you actually allow people to touch it? That means if like you get people coming in, how do you clean that? Do you have any method how to actually handle that? How do you prevent people from, all the sanitize and artwork? How do you sanitize an artwork? Because it's quite an important it will just probably destroy.
So first of all,
how do you deal with it?
People can only visit by appointment. It's limited to only less than 5 per day. So we don't allow big groups, and also there's a gap. And then we have to sanitize because of the small numbers of people every day. And actually, that's not a typewriter. It's just a toy actually. So wipes is okay. It's not the old one. It's just a toy.
Okay. So that's an example, but like these are an example. Even a toy, like you can imagine the kid will touch. You cannot just monitor everyone. Oh, he's touching that. Let's go and wipe there. He's touching that, and let's go and wipe there. So how do you
after they finish the limit? After they finish for the day, memang pula.
For the day.
The museum staff are constantly here to monitor. And because they need to take audience reaction, and sometimes they will be followed to take the reactions or to show around how the exhibits are being used. So this is how museums control SOPs. And because audience have to register by appointment, so the small amount of people are easily manageable. Yes, and the distance between audience and what they touch is also easily controlled.
And also, although we take extra precaution after, pre-visit, everybody can help themselves with the 3 bottles of sanitation. Okay, for the extra, because we don't know where they've been to yet. We've been to and all. Yeah. We try our best. So for today, we are the only ones touching everything. Before they send that, only us. No visitors today.
Thank you, Dr. Nurul, for your
Thank you
concern.
so much.
Thank you.
Another question is there. Srikant Nandkumar, can you please unmute and ask your question?
Last question, yeah.
Last question.
Srikant Nandkumar, are you there?
He's here, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm here. Actually, I don't have any question because I joined your session very late. So actually, I inquired to host, and it will be my turn. That's it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So thanks very much, and back over to Farida.
All right. Thank you so much. Too many questions, but that's good. Yeah. Something for the exhibitors to think about in the next round. Okay. Our next speaker is going to be introduced by Tosh, our co-chair. Oh, Najwa is our co-chair. Tosh is also our co-chair, and Nurul is also our co-chair. So we've got 3 co-chairs, and Andrew is our professional co-chair. Okay, Tosh, over to you, Tosh.
Okay. Let me introduce the next. It is my pleasure and honor to introduce Christopher Pang. Okay. Christopher Pang specializes in using augmented reality and artificial intelligence technologies for education and business. For education and training, his research interests span learner-centric e-pedagogies. For business, the focus is on optimizing processes and digital transformation, including but not limited to customer and shopper behavior biosensing. Currently, the focus is on optimizing processes and digital transformation, including but not limited to consumer and shopping behavior biosensing. Okay. Currently, he is a senior lecturer and senior specialist in teaching and learning at Nanyang Polytechnic's School of Business Management. He has 15 years of experience working with technology companies as a senior technology consultant and a certified trainer in sales enablement and skills coaching. The title of his presentation is Soren, a chatbot as a pedagogical agent to restore immediacy during the pandemic. Chris?
Thank you, Prof. Tops. Allow me to share screen very quickly. Okay, hopefully everybody can see that screen. So thank you so much for allowing me to share my research project. I'll try to be as concise as possible. I come from Singapore. I work at Nanyang Polytechnic, like Prof. Tops said. I think Singapore, like many other countries, we also had a lot of challenges with pandemic lockdowns, home-based learning, emergency COVID restrictions. So the inspiration to build a board came about during that context, but it's not something that is unique to just this part of the world. It's also something that if you look at it worldwide, it's a common theme that students and learners are very dissatisfied with lockdown learning, and satisfaction has plummeted to the level that some of them, I think in Europe, are asking for refunds. So it can be quite distressing to learn about that. And also, if you look at Google search, right, I did a quick one. In the last 2 years alone, There are now like 17,100 results on dissatisfaction during pandemic learning. So it's quite a worrying trend as well. And there are a lot of research papers written. So I put out one just to look at evidence across 10 countries. They highlighted 2 areas which you have to worry about. One, of course, is to do with equipment, infrastructure, and service quality. That requires resourcing and time. The other one requires us. Students also complain about the quality of learning, and that's why the board was built to deal with that specifically. Because they felt that the teacher was absent during the pandemic, and asynchronous learning or e-learning is just not as personal. So that was the biggest issue that I wanted to address using technology. So let me introduce to you why I think the solution is the answer. Okay, this is rather long, you can read it yourself, but I'm going to just get the point across. Imagine an educator that is capable of talking in hundreds of languages, and nobody can do that, right? You need a super educator to do that. They can adjust, you can use data, you can provide emotional support, you can even recall every single thing you actually taught. And a student can ask you specifically right down to the second, what did you say? And if you want to do that as well, you can also pair it what they use chatbots for business purposes, right? And get you to shop, get you to buy, get you to do your errands you want to as well. Of course, this educator doesn't exist, but a board can actually do all this. So what I also did was to just look around very quickly to see in the last 2 years during the pandemic, how has people started deploying chatbots? I focused more on teaching assistant and robo teacher. That was the path I took. That was in green, circled in green. But many other people have started using it as smart FAQs, and they also started using for assessment. I do have another board that does nothing but assessing, especially corpus text for natural language processing. And the other one, which I'm not looking at right at the moment, is where it's more about social emotional support. That a lot of new boards have started popping up to deal with depression, to deal with some of the, I guess, the reduced social interaction that the students are feeling. So that is also another worry. The pandemic has definitely affected learning culture. And I think the answer, therefore, is to use technology to try to resolve this, but not to use it in a way which makes things colder, but hopefully to restore that personal human touch by restoring intimacy and extending the tutor or lecturer presence back into the learning relationship. So you can also build chatbots to get care, give them personalities, they can give advice, they can do that. So what I did was I was too lazy, or I admit, to do a proper literature review and dynamic analysis. So I got my AI analysis to do this. I downloaded synopsis from Google, and I got the AI to tell me what are the core themes. So the AI threw back 6 of these things. So I key in the keywords, conversational chatbots, pedagogical agents, and it came back with what I coded in yellow, green, and blue. So the dominant pedagogy that they've been using for chatbots during the pandemic is actually self-regulated learning. Not so much self-directed. Self-regulated learning is in my view, is a way to help students monitor and track their own learning, in the sense that they pace it themselves. So it sounds like self-directed, but I guess it's a middle form. A lot of people are using chatbots to also scaffold, and you can do this autonomously, and that's the path I took as well. So I chose the blue path. I did not use emulating emotions to encourage learning. So that is where you get a robo friend. I didn't look at effective outcomes. So language and words do betray emotions and sentiments, right? And in business, we use that a lot for marketing, in particular to manipulate sales, in particular looking at shopper sentiments. And in learning, you can do the same thing as well, but you do it for learning outcomes or more noble purpose. You can also increase motivation and engagement, and also increase learning through what we call social agency. Because a chatbot chats almost like a real person. You can inject a real personality. You can become almost an extension of you. And I guess the interaction becomes a little bit more fun. So it's interesting to see how chatbots are evolving. So let me just share with you the model which I built on. So I use a goal-guided performance model. So the chatbot was built to do one thing, to help learners complete learning tasks, because I do need them to become good business communicators. And that's one of the modules I deployed the bot in. It's a fundamental foundation course on business communication. So it's the usual thing that you see across all universities, writing business emails, minutes taking. Of course, these days we also include social media writing, how to write a proper post, and then of course, tone of voice, and etiquette as well. And it tries to give guidance based on the request that the students ask, and then we try to scaffold it. So I'll show you an example in a while what I mean by that. You'll try to give examples, you'll try to refer to learning content. So what I actually did was I threw all my learning materials into the board. Every single thing I teach, all 100 pages of it is in the board. So it becomes almost like e-textbook, but it talks, but it doesn't just read. So it does respond to specific requests. So you can think of it as a smarter version of search. And I also try to layer in, because I give them assignments to do, right? Differentiated scaffolding, and the board can also tell me, because they can submit assignments through the board as well, and it goes into a repository. And once they've done it, actually goes to another board to grade it, but I won't talk about the other board today. And then therefore I can also get a little report of the whole thing that things are done. So this was the model I used. I came up with a goal-guided performance model. This is what the board looks like. So I won't go to the other screen where the board is active, but I nicknamed it Soren. And basically it assumes the way I talk as well. So you can ask any questions. So students, if you say hello to it, I did build in some of the personalities who will respond in kind. And this is where you see the differentiated scaffolding here. With the students tell me how to write good news, it will throw out the basic definition and gives them the outline, and then prompts them to look at examples. Examples actually, if you trigger it, actually examples of actual well-written letters with explanation on the side. So it's like your Cliff's guides for letter writing. So you'll do that as well. And you also throw up e-learning prompts. So you also force them to go into our Blackboard learning management system to do e-learning as well. So if it continues asking like, what is a good bad news? Because this is a horribly phrased request by a student, and that's how they write, unfortunately. This is an actual log which I'm sharing with you right now. So is this good news or bad news messages for business writing? But the bot is actually smart enough after you train it and it learns that it's actually asking about bad news, and then you throw back the right answer. So in a previous, earlier iterations and versions, it wasn't able to do that. And you see here, these are again, you prompt the students to deep dive and learn a little bit more. And the students got a bit cheeky, tell me a joke. So I did, after they started doing that, I did my response I would give the student as well in real life. So you can see a little of my dry sense of humor. So I did try to inject some personality and fun. Unfortunately, that also backfired because the students are using it for fun as well, and not just for learning. So I did a case study. So I tried to keep it as concise as possible. You do see here different treatments. We did do the traditional face-to-face. So that was HBL stands for home-based learning. The control group was face-to-face using a tutorial guide. These are typical worksheets or a textbook you might have adopted. In this case, we use our own guide that we write ourselves. So HBL stands in Singapore, we call it home-based learning. I think in other places, you might call it different things, top-down learning, remote learning, asynchronous learning, but we in Singapore call it home-based learning because the ministry told us to do it, so we did it. And what you notice here is that I give them an assignment to complete, and we mark based on format, writing strategy, content, tone, and then we total the marks obtained. The second group used the chatbot primarily, and you do notice that they have an increased score. You also had another one where we told them to use both, and we did say an increased score as well. But what you begin to see very quickly here is that the significant findings that you realize very quickly is that the one using the tutorial guide and chatbot was the highest. But when I asked the students in this treatment group, what did they actually do? They said that I didn't even look at the tutorial guide. I used the chatbot only. So why were the scores higher? So this is what I suspect. When I asked them further, they said that because the chatbot was there and we discovered I can just ask it questions, complete my assignment, and it's better in Google search, we don't see a need to use the guide. So what has happened here was the implicit inherent motivation factor, right? I found a better way of learning, and therefore I got more excited to complete it, and the motivation factor probably boosts the score a little bit up. So it's interesting to do that. So face-to-face is still superior, but what I wanted to show was with the chatbot, at least without the tutor interaction, you still can match the face-to-face learning for soft skills in particular. And that was quite pleased to see that, that the students using the board in the absence of me could complete this exercise. But I still think they would like to see me, but Like I mentioned, the bot had my personality and inputted some of things in there. This is the kind of question the students were asking. So the one using tutorial guides didn't ask very much because this was, we use a Q&A forum. So it's a typical thread that students might pose a question. So there are not many questions in that area. And of course, they were not satisfied. The chatbot somehow, because we built the FAQs into the chatbot itself, the students started using it. But I also realized, I told you earlier, right? The students also started chatting the bot for fun. So it's very much the generation stage. So a lot of them were non-learning questions. So one of the cheekier questions was, where do I buy toilet paper? That was in 2020, and you realized toilet paper back then was a huge commodity, right? So they're asking cheeky questions like that as well. But I don't see it as negative because I think in real life, we do have students who also joke with you, and that's also part of the educational experience, right? The campus experience, the experience to role model, to learn from interacting with us as well as adults, to have also life supporting conversations, not just about mastering the content or being able to complete a task, but they were also happier as well. And the reason why I shared the example earlier as to why the group that has tutorial guide and chatbot was the highest, because they discovered a new way of doing things which the rest didn't have, and they were very proud of the fact that this was a more efficient way of learning for them. I didn't poll the face-to-face group because the tutor that was teaching forgot to ask them whether they have any questions. Some tutors are that way, right? So there was no, unfortunately, question tracking because she forgot to do it, as far as NA at the moment, unfortunately. But what we did find was that it wasn't just novelty. The students were willing to use the chatbot over many exercises, and somehow the modality made them more proactive, and they were more adaptive as well. And I believe it increased the social presence of us in digital form. A little bit about how we built this. The first chatbot, Soren, was actually built on Microsoft. I later moved on to open source. Microsoft was because they were very generous during the pandemic. They gave our school a 50% education discount. So everything you did was ×2, right? Because of 50% discount. They have something that is very easy to use. They have a Q&A framework or maker. You can build a bot in a day, literally a day. You can throw your entire content in it, and then you just define a few questions in pairs. Off you go, your bot is done. It's a simple, smart FAQ engine. If you want to do what I did, it's self-learning, it has examples, it prompts e-learning, then you'll use what they call the zero connected services, and that comes with a cost. So I wouldn't recommend that unless you are very sure that this is something which you'll be implementing for a long, long time. But Q&A Maker is actually free, and it's actually not that costly to build, but there are also many frameworks that you have as well. But the good news is that you can build a bot in a day. And this was a knowledge base. I was just tracking what was the response rate, how many users were using it, and how many they are making requests. And so it does give you a kind of log that you can capture to some extent. Okay, so my last couple of slides, because I promised to be concise. Where is chatbots heading? I think the first versions of most chatbots that you see are really what you call the e-commerce bots. What we call conversational partners, virtual assistants, right? They help you complete a task. And those were built on the rule-based AI technology. So we ask for A, and the answer is B in a database, it gives you B. If you meet conditions for C, it gives you D. That's the rule-based option. What I tried to build was the second one, advice. It tries to adapt to what the students want, and it's a more personal approach because it adopted my personality. And to do that, they need machine learning. That's what ML is. And they need natural language processing, another AI technology. As a business comm lecturer in this instance, natural language processing is critical because it helps understand the context of what the request is. Authentic is something which I'm hoping to do, which I haven't done yet. And this is where you do multimodal all-device, human-like avatar, chatbots, and DL stands for deep learning. This is where you use neural networks, and that's a more advanced build. XR stands for extended reality. So I might steal some of Sensoria's ideas, right, and build an avatar using augmented reality, for example, or 3D modeling to mimic even myself. And maybe I'll get away with students not knowing I'm actually not in class. Currently, I think in multimodal learning, most of us are still very device dependent. But increasingly, I've been using voice-activated bots. You can gesture, and the bot works just as well over email and SMS. So I was surprised to learn that the bot can accept SMS if you redirect them to it. And you can answer an SMS back if you want to as well. Again, we're very device dependent, PC, laptops, tablet, phone, right? But anything that has a chip can be put in, you can actually put a bot in it. So it's actually more pervasive than I actually thought. So all your smart speakers, all your smart televisions, even your smart headsets, all your wearables can actually talk to you if you want it to. So it makes things interesting here, right? Students don't have to log on to their phones anymore if they want to have a learning device. So I guess one day, I'm hoping that one day someone will actually build Jarvis, right? Iron Man's, if you watch a Marvel superhero story, that he appears everywhere, the Iron Man or Tony Stark, big super villains. A lot of e-learning is packaged, curated, and structured. But what I realized that with the chatbot, because the students can request, and if the chatbot can recommend as well, it can actually do just-in-time learning. And because you can also build tracking notifications and alerts in the system, I guess it gives you a truer sense of personalized learning, because you can therefore use data to find out what are learners not strong at, what's taking them more time, or where are they doing things, and that's an important thing. So I want to end here. So thank you so much for giving me this chance to share a little bit of my research. I'll be happy to take any questions. If none, is fine too.
Thank you, Chris. All right. There's a question from the audience. Where did it go? From Hank. Would you like to address the question?
Sure.
From me? Okay.
So my favorite current framework is to use TensorFlow at the moment. So TensorFlow is an open source, and you do need the server to host it, but it's actually quite forgiving. And there is a Keras formula you can use as well. It comes with ready-made the bot. Limitations is that if you use the predefined and pre-trained model, you may not be able to customize some of the things you want to do. So for that, you may have to use the open source itself, which is under TensorFlow. So you can choose TensorFlow. If you want to connect with me, I'd be happy to send you some of the things we've been doing. And there are quite a lot of pre-trained models you can actually implement straight away. And it's just easier than the talk. So what I do like is that these days, when I'm busy teaching in class or giving this presentation, my students are asking me questions right now. Right? I actually put in my way message as a bot, so if there's something that they can help themselves, they can. So it's, all the common questions will ask me most of the time, right? When are deadlines? When's the next lesson? So I actually put all in the bot so they can actually, so it's like a personal assistant to deal with some of these things. So that's another bot I created just for the fun of it. So I guess if the bot doesn't give a correct answer, the students will probably let me know. I can also review the logs and add in new intents.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, Farida.
Hi. Chris, thank you for your presentation. So this bot actually can answer in a voice?
Yes. So I had a special needs student once, and she unfortunately was blind. And I didn't realize they used a software called JAWS, right? JAWS couldn't detect my bot interface. So what I did was I activated voice input, and the bot can also read back the response as well. So it was just a simple purchase of a service, or you can just add in the library and enable it, just a bunch of codes, and off you go. You can also speak Japanese if you want it to as well.
So today is International Women's Day. I'm just wondering, what kind of voice is it? Is it male, female, neutral, robotic?
Okay, so because I did it so quickly, I use a ready voice and Microsoft had. So you can choose like Emily, Mike, if you remember some of the Microsoft software that you have, right? So you can actually vary it. So I did ask the special needs learner, but she said I have no preference. But I guess you could decide what it wants, but it's a predetermined robotic voice that comes ready with Microsoft, unfortunately, in this instance. But there are voice avatars that you can actually download. They sound a bit common. I think you probably heard them before. Some of the e-learning, when you do the Microsoft, when you ask the computer to read the text, right, you can choose the different character voices in different accents. So those are the ones that are available for use.
I was hoping that you might demonstrate to us what it is like. You won't have it?
I don't have the voice version, but I do have the active version, which is
2 minutes of
text-based.
it.
Okay, sure. So let me just share screen very quickly.
Okay.
So hopefully it's working properly. I did lower the code so you can say hi. Okay, it's a bit slow. It works better on the mobile. Because what happened is that the semester has ended for Singapore, so I actually lowered the load factor to save costs because no one's using it at the moment. In order to increase the response time, we have to increase the backend loading. Okay, help me write a persuasive letter and see what comes back. Okay. I got faster. So we can actually look at some examples. So you can actually upload this came from my worksheet. You can tell, right, how to write a proper business letter, company letterhead and all that. And then you can go back and you can also prompt it to see additional content if you want to as well. Okay, then you can look at additional items as well if you want to as well. Okay, so that was something that I was working on, and this was the bot that you can build very quickly. So you can also be cheeky and say what I saw earlier, right? Tell me a joke, and it should come back with a naughty response. Okay, and loss. Okay, so we can actually, okay, this is a bot talking. I didn't pre-program this knowledge. So what happens is that Microsoft also has already libraries, and you can choose to import some of these libraries that are more generative in nature. So the bot will try its best to answer questions like this. I think I took away the toilet paper one because I don't think it will respond toilet paper anymore because I removed it because one of my tutors complained, so I took it away. So the bot doesn't recognize it anymore. So it tries its best to give the best possible answer. So in this case, it's definitely wrong. Yeah, it's definitely wrong in that sense. So that what happened in the backend is that I will be able to see in a log that there was a new intent that was not response, and then I would go in and key in response if I want to as well. So this was the earlier version of the bot. I didn't activate the voice response at the moment. It took me a while to do it as well. Yeah, so this is the bot that works. But if you are interested to collaborate to build anything, let me know. I'll be happy to see where I can support for any purpose that you might have. Right. I might do something for Sensoria. I guess maybe quite interesting to see where they can build an artistic bot.
Right. That you can contact with Katriana and Najwa. So I was just being cheeky there as well, asking you the gender of the voice. But I do see your Soren has got humor. He's got humor.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's my bad sense of humor.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
You. All right. Any other questions from the audience? All right. Okay. One comment I'd like to add to wrap up is the I've been working on the interactivity in learning, and the Chris's research is really bringing such interactivity as a motivation to increase the learning. And also I've been teaching the COIL version. It's an online version of a writing course with the Taiwanese students and other countries' students. And what I found out is the even in writing course, interactivity between the with the contents and also the writer are the very important part. And using chatbot is actually much better than what I've been doing. I've been using a template. There's a service called the Essay Jack, from a Canadian company, which use the templates to fill in to complete the essay in a way. However, the using chatbot brings more interactive way of learning, and I thought that was a pretty good approach. Yeah, thank you very much. All right, okay. Thank you very much, Chris, and thank you very much for contribution of the questions from the audience. Okay, great. Okay, now it's back to Farida.
Thank you, Tosh and Chris. Wonderful. I think, yeah, collaboration will be good, right? That will be really interesting if you can get more things done. All right, so the next presenter is actually Hank Metzeler from University of Malaya. He's heading the Fleet Museum project at the university. And I think we work as a team. And this, I don't know whether Nur Azhar and Prof. Siti is going to join us, but the next presentation is the 2022 AUA Fleet Museum Conference and the formation of Museum Working Group, which is still in progress. Over to you, Hank. Are you saying something? We can't hear you.
Okay. My unmute button wasn't there. You can hear me now?
Yeah, but very distant.
Close. Okay, so we have done last month our conference in University Malaya, where I work and Dr. Farida used to work. And our conference was called the 2022 AUA Academic Conference on Co-Curating Flip Museums for Asian Civilization, a blended research and teaching approach. That's quite a mouthful, but I'll try to make it short, just like the previous speaker. It was last month, 15 to 17 February. And we have a conference website. Even though the conference is finished, you can still visit. If you get the PDF later, that should be a link, even though I didn't get it to work. So you see it pop up in the bottom of the screen, I think. So we need to kind of unwrap this title a little bit, because there's some acronym here, AUA, and also may not be clear to everyone what is Flip Museum, or maybe even what is co-curating. So let me introduce first what is the AUA. AUA was the co-organizer, co-host of our conference. It is the Asia Universities Alliance. And it currently has 15 members spread out over Asia. And the participants from the conference, to be modest, I will start with ourselves here in Kuala Lumpur. Also close by, NUS in Singapore. And then further away, we had Tsinghua from Beijing and University Tokyo from Tokyo, obviously. And then from Jeddah, a university in Saudi Arabia. So that is the AUA. Then the Flip Museum idea came from the flipped classroom. Not sure if everyone is familiar. So we know the traditional way of teaching is that the lecturer or the teacher is in front of the class. And today, because it's International Women's Day, this is a female teacher, but you can't see it. And the students all listen, sit quiet, listen, pay attention to the teacher explaining. All right, and every year the teacher teaches the same subject, the same chapter, exactly the same talk, right? Students go home, they do their homework activities. They discover during homework that maybe they didn't understand. Of course, teacher asks at the end of the lecture or class, did you understand? Do you have any question? No question yet, right? Question only comes up when they're doing homework. So this is not a very efficient way of teaching. I don't remember how long ago, people started using flipped education, which means the student can access the study materials from home. For example, a recorded video lecture, right? And then when they come to the class, they already have some of the background. They will still have their question, but that's okay, because now they can do classroom activities. The teacher can individualize their interaction with the students, right? Student has a question, can directly ask. The students can work together on a project, so they don't have to sit still and pay attention. They can develop their social skills. They can do partner learning, right? So this is a much more efficient way of using the teacher time, using the time for that what the teacher is best at, right? Rather than just parroting the same story every year. I mean, I'm exaggerating, but that's the idea. So we thought, okay, we are going to apply this and this was before the conference in our project, we're going to apply this to museum, and this is going to be all new. But it isn't, because whenever we have a research idea, somebody has already done it. So this is a blog from 2015, as you can see here, where people have done Flip Museum. But it has only been done, I think, a few times. There are a few initiatives. This one is from North Carolina. There was one in Europe as well. So this was quite an early one. Again, you just hover over, you can find the link, right? You know, it's also here. I'll try to be short. Okay, so we may have a question, what is co-curating? But I saw just now we have a lot of museum people here, so probably I don't really need to give the answer that we have on our website, but we have some videos on our conference website where this is explained. This is Mr. Aziz. He is the curator of the Museum of Asian Art on the campus in University Malaya. All right, so you can look it up afterward if you wish. So since this is a conference on advanced networking, we have to bring it into the theme of what it has to do with the digital age, right? So what we need to do for a Flip Museum, part of it is we need to digitize the collection, because we want to offer to the students from home the experience of being primed with the museum materials. So it needs to be digital, right? And this can be very simple. You can just take a photograph and say, this is it, this is the object. But, and I think USM also hinted at that just now, a photograph doesn't tell you the full story, right? You do not have the sense of space, the sense of three-dimensionality. So you can make a three-dimensional object. Digitizing three-dimensional object is much harder than just taking one photograph, right? So this is a study in itself, how to do that. Especially when, for example, you have different objects which are highly reflective, so you get a high shine on it, or objects that are dull, right? You want to show the difference between the two, but you don't want the highlights on the shiny object to just overpower all the detail there is in it. So we need to be very careful in how we digitize the materials. This is all introduction to the conference, right? I've not said anything about the conference yet. I'm terrible. So the content needs to be developed and then brought to home or school locations. So there need to be some kind of streaming or network access to the teaching materials. And another idea that we saw during the conference, which is very exciting and also relates to the co-curating part of the title, is that you could access artifacts that are in different locations, so different museums or galleries, could be in America or Europe, whatever, and you bring them together on your own computer screen at home, right? So you're making your own comparison between here and there. All right, so now on to our conference. we started with 2 pre-conference workshops. The first one was given by the Penang State Museum Art Gallery, Mrs. Haryani, and she talked about what is a flip museum and e-museum. And what she did especially is show us how they incorporated modern technology into the exhibits. And it was not only the use, at least that was my takeaway, not only the use of digital media to bring the art, but making it part of the art. So reimagining a painting as a moving object. She showed a few examples of that, which was very interesting. And they have very, very nice displays. So yeah, should go there if they have another exhibition. The second pre-conference workshop was from the Sarawak Museum, the Borneo Museum in Sarawak. And we gave them the title Digitizing Collections, but the real presentation was on digital displays and artifacts. So they have recently redesigned the whole museum into a very big space, and they have modernized the presentation, and they showed us in this pre-conference workshop the whole thought process on where to put a physical object and how to support it with all the electronic and digital displays and so on and so forth. So this was also a very interesting workshop. Then we went on to the conference itself, and we first had a keynote address from Prof. Andrew from UMAC, the University Museum and Art Collections, which is a body that operates under the ICOM, the International Council of Museums. And he spoke to us about how we can use university museums for education and at the same time also for research, because we are university, right? We had 2 plenary speakers, one talking about the management of the University Museum in the University of Tokyo, a bit outside of the APAN interest, I guess. And the second on building a flip museum model for Asian civilization, all right? So that relates to the flip museum I talked about just now. And we had a plenary forum also related to the management of university museums. So we had 3 speakers who gave a presentation, and then we had a forum led by Prof. Siti, and I don't think I saw his name, but he was invited for today. We had a forum where we discussed several, or they discussed several topics related to the management of museums. Then we went on to the sessions, and the interesting part was that the students in a university, because we were specifically targeting university museums, the students can be involved in preparing the exhibitions. I think especially NUS was talking about this, in how the students can help with the curating of the materials, right? Tokyo and Tsinghua, they use the students to guide visitors and to interact with school children, for example. So this is another way of giving university students an experience kind of behind the scenes of the museum. And one presentation also in just a technical study on the artifacts. So instead of providing the students a sample to bring to the lab, I mean a chemical sample, you give them a museum artifact, not the presentation one, just a broken bit, for example. And we had presentations on how to do network collaboration. Now I have shorthanded this so much that I forgot what I was going to say about this. Oh yes, this was during COVID time, where the orchestra in UM has problems rehearsing together, so they have to do it over a network, which even if the latency is ever so small, it's impossible to really play ensemble over a network, right? Well, I'm saying that I know APAN has done the performances shared over a network in different places, but that really takes some very, very, very careful planning to do that. So there was a presentation about that. And at the end of, nearly the end of our conference, we had a digital presentation of the collections in the various participating universities, which if we have time, and I may be allowed to share, then I will try to share a few. The other part of the conference was to form a working group for small museums and university museums. We didn't really get around to form the actual group yet, but there was some interest and we're definitely going to pursue this. So if any of the present audience would like to join, please, you are all invited. I think you can write to Mr. Aziz from the University Museum, the Museum of Asian Art, and we'd be very happy to collaborate on that. All right, so that leaves me with, if Dr. Farida will allow me the time, there were 5 museums who contributed a virtual presentation of their collection, and I would like to share short clips of that. Okay, it will be very short clips. So let's see, we begin with the Hong Kong Museum of, the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. You should not be here. There should be sound also. Why is there no sound? It's not playing. Why is it not playing? I seem to be having some technical problem here. Maybe Dr. Farida, maybe we can do this later?
Sure. We can do this later. If you want to toy around with it first, and then we can do it after the next presentation.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. So thanks, Hank. Is that the end?
Yeah, that was supposed to be the end. Yep.
Okay, all right. So so it's good that you brought up the formation of the museum, because perhaps some of the audience here can throw in some ideas. We were split in the sense that should we concentrate on small museums as in university museums, because there were also people from the gallery who were interested. So any ideas, do share with us. One thing that we could do with the eCulture session is we could have a task force, or maybe another group, to another point to discuss, because we are going to meet again in China in the next meeting. So perhaps we could have, if you like, Hank, to come and present the outcome of this working group, but that will be 6 months from now. So I suppose you would like to have the discussion earlier, yeah?
Okay, or maybe Mr. Aziz can go.
Sure.
As our head.
I think Andrew is here, but I think it's hybrid now, right? Some people are there, but mostly online. And we don't know the next APAN 54 it will be just like this. I'm not sure.
Yeah, we're still not sure on this. The current plan is for China, but their border restrictions are still quite limited. So we'll advise everyone as we go forward over the next month or two, hopefully coming to a decision on how we're going to run the next one.
Right, right. So Hank, any ideas or anything you'd like to discuss with us regarding the formation? Any ongoing ideas? What will be the purpose of this formation? Because I understand AUA has already got its group of museum, university museums, right?
UMAC exists.
Okay.
So this is a university museum council already, but I think we wanted to just look at specific problems for small museums. For example, we have limited budgets and how to deal with conservation or other issues that, you know, for larger museums may not be an issue, but for smaller museums, it would be difficult to handle.
Right, right. Okay. So shall we end here and then you come back with your video after Andrew?
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
I'm okay.
Okay. All right. So the next speaker is actually Andrew. Nuru, are you there? Okay, let me introduce. Andrew is our co-chair. Would you like to do the honor? Nurul, are you there?
Yes, yes, I am.
All right.
Hang on, let me just turn on. Hello, everyone. I'm Nurul. So everyone knows Andrew. Andrew is currently in Melbourne. It's probably a bit late now, Andrew. Your time?
Yeah, in Canberra.
In Canberra, yeah. So it's probably now. Is that 1 hour earlier than Melbourne, or is it?
No, same time as you.
Okay, so it's 8:40.
42.
Yeah. 8:40. Okay, so for this session, Andrew will be presenting about leaf language. Is that correct if I pronounce it Life?
Life language. Yeah.
Life language. Andrew is from the ANU and in the area of national computational infrastructure in Australia, National University in Australia, in Australia. And I think everyone knows Andrew, so he's also a senior co-chair. We have senior co-chair, Dr. Farida, a senior co-chair in this eCulture group. So I'll just hand over the screen to Andrew for the presentation.
Thank you, Nurul. So I'd like to thank you all for the opportunity to present. This is not my work. I'm the Associate Director of Cloud Services at the National Computational Infrastructure, which is one of the 2 supercomputer centres in Australia. I've got the honour of working with the National Centre for Indigenous Genomics, who are in the John Curtin School of Medical Research just across the road from us. They introduced us to a group called Life Languages. This is an initiative started by Young Australian of the Year, who's a second-year medical student. He's currently working he's an Indigenous man, and he's currently working in remote communities, vaccinating people and providing healthcare. So we offered to host Life Languages. So without further ado, I'll hand over to Rani Ong, who will be actually presenting on the program. As the National Computational Infrastructure, we're honoured to support our First Nations people, particularly for initiatives and programs like this.
Andrew, oh yeah, now I can see. It's good.
Everybody, introducing to you Life Languages, an Indigenous youth-driven universal medical translator. Language is culture. Without language, one is disconnected and disempowered. This quote was said by a new migrant to Australia and was featured in New Humans of Australia stories. One can imagine how hard it is to start a new life in a new country and to navigate through foreign systems. But importantly, this same disconnect and disempowerment is happening to our very own First Nations people, Indigenous Australians, especially in healthcare. Why was this project initialized? The Life Languages project started 2 years ago with Dr. Gareth Bainan and Yalalu Thomas. Dr. Gareth Bainan is a clinical geneticist working in Western Australia with a long-standing commitment to improve Indigenous healthcare. Yalalu Thomas is a Nyangamada Pijikali man, and he is an Indigenous Australian who is the first in his community to graduate high school and to go on and study medicine. He is also our language champion and mentor to the other language champions within our own project, as well as Western Australia Young Australian of the Year for the year 2020. So the two of them started this project 2 years ago, and it is an Indigenous youth-driven medical translator. It aims to retain Indigenous languages whilst partnering with new technologies to transform healthcare and well-being to be more equitable, and also to create more connected communities. Apart from Yalalu's own family's personal experience with language barriers, these were formal findings. According to the Western Australian Department of Health, accurate and culturally safe language are critical to healthcare and innovation, as there is currently a communication gap between health professionals and Indigenous Australians, which then significantly impacts Indigenous communities' social outcomes. The analysis and gap shows 1 in 10 Aboriginal people speak a traditional language at home, and considerably higher, approximately 6 in 10, in regional and remote areas. Therefore, it is vital to have access to culturally appropriate healthcare. Healthcare awareness and engagement, patient consent and confidentiality, and treatment compliance are all areas that require improvement. There needs to be a reduction in misdiagnosis, medical errors, improper medication in the health and social care systems. And it all starts with language. This slide shows some numbers which started off in the rare disease space, which Life Languages project started on. Now, on the very top, the figure of 400 million is a global figure on diseases that are increasingly recognized as a global public health priority. Deaths caused by chronic diseases are around 32.6 million in 2019, and rare diseases are estimated to affect between 6 and 8% of the global population. So that equates to 400 million people globally. Going down to the second bar, that's nationwide in Australia. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders, hereby respectfully referred to as Indigenous people, represent 3% of the total population of 24 million. In the absence of available data, there is no priori reason to believe that rare diseases are less prevalent in Indigenous populations. So that suggests at least 43,000 to 58,000 Indigenous people are living with a rare disease alone. This does not take into consideration chronic diseases affecting them. In Western Australia, there are up to 1 in 12 people living with a rare disease alone. 70% of these are children, which brings to the figure of 63,000. That's enough to fill the whole of Perth's Optus Stadium, every seat in Perth Optus Stadium. Again, this figure does not take into account the chronic disease number. In the Pilbara alone, so the Pilbara region is where Yalalu Thomas is from, it's up to 5,000 people are living with a rare disease alone. 7 in 10 are children. 65% of Indigenous people report at least one long-term health condition, and approximately 27% of Indigenous children have one or more long-term health conditions. Closing the gap. As you can see from the previous slide, the numbers are great, and language is vital to reduce the misdiagnosis, not just in the rare disease space, but also in the other domains of disease. So life languages, this is a high snapshot of how it works. It transforms medical terminologies into Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander and other Indigenous languages. So it is a mobile application where one can enter text entries images and voice recordings of the translations. As you can see on the right hand side, you have a terminology shown here as microcephaly, and that is then broken down into layperson's language, layperson description, which means small head circumference, and that in turn is then translated into an Indigenous language as shown here. It is in Yalalu Thomas's Nyangamada language. Life Languages is an open source online platform portal for viewing and searching of medical terms by health professionals into the appropriate Indigenous languages. How does it work? There are two types of users. One is the language champion and one are the clinicians. So each user can log in using their password via the mobile app, and they can enter text entries of the translation by audio recordings from what they've translated from the human phenotype ontology terms, which is a medical lingua franca, which is widely used in the medical domain. HPO terms are already then broken down into layperson synonyms, as mentioned earlier. Clinician users are then able to access the translation using the open source mobile app to view and search translated medical terms into culturally appropriate Indigenous languages. Language champions, users, and their elders are vital to this process. The language champions are youths from the communities who connect with their elders to work on their translation, and together they would then record it down into the mobile app. Translations are then approved by elders, and elders' names are noted against each translation. This is to ensure knowledge transfer and multi-generational connection. Why do we use human phenotype ontology, brackets HPO terms? HPO terms are the position medical lingua franca. It covers all medical domains and is utilized within most, if not all, current phenotype language-driven genomic diagnostics software. Where we're at with the Live Languages project, we've started with a proof of concept, and we are now working on the Live Universal Medical Translator. It is 80% completed as of last year in August, with added functionalities, and have gone through beta testing with the language champions. The language champions' feedback are then being looked at by our developers. Data sovereignty and intellectual property components are carefully being established so that the translation of data is accessible and belongs to and continues to provide ongoing benefit to the communities that we work with. The proof of concept has started with 2 languages, while the universal live version of the Universal Medical Translator has 14 languages recorded into the system and is continuing to grow. We've started off with 300 rare disease terms, and we've linked it with data linkages to Mondo and FMA terms. Mondo being terms for diseases and FMA being terms for anatomy. This would also include SNOMED CT codes in the back end, which would be used in clinical documentation and reporting, and includes exportability of translation to other technology such as Cliniface 3D facial analysis. We hope to include in the future day-to-day greetings, words and sentences, 100 common non-medical words, description of symptoms, 2 top to third level tiers of the HPO terms, as well as terms around mental health. Scope development has also commenced for a library resource section that will include health and info brochures, appointment letters and consent forms with translated words. The idea would be the translated words would be highlighted in the document. All data are currently hosted and protected on a server. Snapshots of the Live Languages Medical Translator. When a user logs in, the user is able to select a language on the bar shown on the left. Once the user is logged in, they will be brought through a menu page so they can select which terminology type they would like to progress to. The user is then able to select a body part and a sub-body part. This is an overall snapshot of how it works. This, on the top there, you can see the human phenotype terminology of microcephaly, which means small head circumference, and the additional synonym just below the word microcephaly. The user is able to add a translation by hitting the blue button, so they can record down the audio and the text, as well as upload an image. As you can see here, the indigenous translated word is shown, as well as the name of the translator. Bottom part shows the disease type that are linked to this type of rare disease microcephaly. And it also has an option for you to click on of what anatomy part would be affected by this rare disease type. This is just another snapshot of the translation box. You'll be adding the text, the description, as well as the name of the translator. You'll be able to click on buttons below where you can upload a picture, upload an audio, or click to record how you pronounce the word. Then it will hit save to upload the translation. These are some brochures and posters that were done in Yalalu Thomas's Nyanamada language, as well as in Nyanamada Pidgin language, which is mixed with English, to bring awareness of COVID in his community. Life Languages is seen as a connector in transforming healthcare. It's not only a bridge for culture as well as multi-generational between youth and elder, but is also seen as a bridge for multi-technologies with the ability to export data translation to other technology and EMR systems. It's also a bridge for multi-ontologies, that mean linking up the different medical term domains. Microcephaly, for example, microcephaly to the type of disease and anatomy part that it may link to. Future roadmap for impact. We hope to scale across communities with more languages, scale across more disease types. So we started with rare disease. We hope to scale across different data types, human phenotype to Mondo, which is the disease, FMA, which is the anatomy, and as well as Patro. Scaling, we hope to also scale across the globe via a more commercially sustainable model. We endeavour to transform healthcare by solving a local and global health need, empower Indigenous communities to be architects of change, connect across generations and technology, traverse all areas of medicine, sustain Indigenous language and the solution itself to be sustainable. And we hope to scale across Australia, not just Western Australia, but Australia and globally. In conclusion, we leave with you a quote by Yalalu Thomas. When we are talking about closing the gap between Indigenous and non-Indigenous health, we first need to start with the simple things, and let's start with breaking down the language and cultural barriers that exist in today's world and did for so long. Thank you.
So I hope that was a truly inspiring presentation from Life Languages. As I said, it's a great honour to be able to assist them and host some of their collections and provide them some computing and network resources. If there's further questions, please send me an email and I'll be happy to connect you with Rani. unfortunately, she wasn't able to present during this time zone, but was kind enough to share her presentation with us.
Yeah. Andrew, I'm just wondering how many languages is she talking about?
I think in the start around 100, but from my understanding, they're building the youth network kind of progressively, working. COVID set everything back, and a lot of people have had to return to their communities, and we've had a lot of isolation and border closures in Australia. So, I think it was an organic program to work with other Indigenous youth, led by Gareth, who's a very great guy in terms of organising things with the Western Australian state government.
Right. I think it's a beautiful and wonderful community project. And I think it should be actually copied or done the same way for other nations, because in Malaysia too, although they speak Malay, the orang asli or the indigenous people, but there are still terms that when they go to the hospital, the doctor might tell them that and they don't understand what it is, right? So it should be glossed. I don't know, not just in writing form, because some of them don't really read. So it should be in voice form as well. Are you doing that as well?
Yes, that was one of the aspects. They're all recording the oral translation, so that can be basically used to describe different disease forms in back to the community. But I think this model is just applicable to any First Nations people, or anyone who is not English first speaker. There is a great need to actually provide context in people's languages so that they understand, particularly the old. And in these pandemic times, it's really, been brought out to us how essential it is to get health messages out to people.
Right, medical, yeah, very interesting. And I think, how long has a project been on for?
We've been involved for about a year or so, but Yalalu's been out in the community for around that time. So we're just waiting for the situation to improve. And I think they'll be making great strides forward as soon as they can. Western Australia only opened its borders to the rest of Australia last week. So there's still much time for the situation here to resolve, particularly in remote areas.
True. Will this be shared for free for all the First Nation speakers?
I believe so.
Okay, very good, wonderful. Okay.
One of the other key things is that they're working particularly hard to make sure that the intellectual property of the language translation is actually owned and controlled by the communities themselves. And not commercially exploited in ways that would be inappropriate for the communities.
I'm just wondering, once you have the translator done, will this particular app, or what do you call this, be shared with others possible? Or because you don't want it commercial, but
I'm not sure on that. I believe that's their intention, but I thought it was really great that they're actually establishing the protocols first in terms of protecting language, protecting culture in an appropriate way. It has been part of Australian society that has not been done particularly well. So seeing initiatives like this, it's just fantastic to see them putting the hard work in to start with while they're developing the technology along the way.
Wonderful, thank you. I think Nurul is not here. Any questions from anyone else regarding this wonderful project? Otherwise, we will go on to Hank's videos, which he has a problem to play. I've emailed it to you. Could you help out?
Yeah, just give me a minute or two so I don't create horrible.
I'll just go on.
Yep, you go on, Frida, and I'll pop screen sharing up, but I'll have to mute out this to make sure that I don't.
Right. 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 We are into we're into the second session, which we will have the eCulture meeting and a short meeting with the project. But meantime, we did talk about a short break. So this is wonderful that Hank is sharing with us the videos of the different museums at the AUA conference. I hope that we can, go and get some coffee or something, and while Andrew is working on it, I'm sure that's not a problem for him. And then we can have a look at the different museums on their digitizing efforts. Hank, are you still there, Hank?
I'm still here.
Okay. If you want to walk us through afterwards, which university museums are you showing us?
Okay, for Prof. Andrew, I have named the files by the museum, so or by the university. So the first one that I wanted to show is HKUST, Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. We will see, it's only 30 seconds each. We will see part of their collection of maps. The next one would be the University Tokyo. They actually have, or well, maybe we do them one by one.
Yeah, I think we have this. What is this? I think Andrew is ready.
Oh, this is University Tokyo.
Okay.
All right, and this
Any
is,
voice?
No, we cannot hear. This is a digital platform, so this is a virtual visit to the museum.
Okay. I think
disappeared.
Andrew will play it again.
Okay.
Okay.
University Botanical Garden close to the main campus of the University of Tokyo. In 2001, the oldest building at the University of Tokyo, it was constructed in 1876, was renovated to form the Koishikawa Annex. The view shows the first gallery, ground gallery of the Koishikawa Annex.
I guess that's it.
That's it.
So you see the virtual environment and also the pop-up of description when she hits the circle on the display cabinet.
I see. Okay. All right. The next one.
I didn't dare to take longer clips, Dr. Farida, because
Yeah.
we don't have the copyright for it.
Yeah.
So
Understand.
The exhibition is divided into 3 parts in chronological order. Part 1 leads us to trace the origin in counting. Our ancestors actually used to use fingers, knots, counting rods, and beads to represent specific numbers in the past. And look at the rope here. Actually, different knots on this rope represent different value in number depending on their location on this rope. The knots in horizontal.
Okay.
all right, so this was from Tsinghua. So this is an example of students helping or working in curating and presenting, especially the collection.
Yeah, I remember that one. She's a student there, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And this one?
This one is.
Hong Kong?
Yes, this was from Hong Kong. They have, I think, the biggest collection of old maps of China. So they had an exposition on it, but this is actually not virtual. This is just recorded.
I see. Have they scanned their maps? Do you know?
I can't recall. They were doing it, if I remember correctly.
Right.
A brief conversations about art.
In this exhibition, you'll be introduced to some pieces in our Southeast Asian collection. As you can see, there is a variety of mediums used. The artworks we have here range from oil paintings and watercolor paintings to woodblock prints. And there is also a variation in terms of style
and subject matter. Okay, and that was from?
That was from NUS. I think this was also a student presenting the materials.
Right.
So it's again making use of the status as University Museum. This one is from University Malaya.
Right.
abridged conversations about art. In this exhibition, you'll be
This was from University of Malaya. I think we have probably one of the largest collections of candy in the world.
Yes.
At least a very important collection. So this was just an extract of an exhibition on those.
Yeah. We have a project on digitizing the kandi. The kandi is so called because he's got two, a top and a vessel for drinking and one for holding, I think. Otherwise, it's not called a kandi. And they have a collection from India, China, Vietnam, Cambodia, around the area as well. About 100 and over 100, I think, kandi pieces.
I don't know the number, but I know it's a big collection. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Is that all, Andrew?
I think that was all 5. Huh?
Okay.
That's
all right.
all.
Thank you so much. Any last words, Hank?
No, thank you. Thank you for the chance to present.
Okay, thank you for sharing with us. Good luck to the formation of your working group on museums, university museums. I think we can go on so that we can have, we can stop earlier. We do have the time until a little bit more, but anyway, since all of us are here, we should not forget to take a video, a snapshot of all of us afterwards. So the eCulture meeting, we were formed in 2006. I think we missed only one session in the Philippines. Otherwise, eCulture keeps coming back. And we are quite diverse in terms of our subject, because I think we should not define ourselves just to cultural heritage, because we do apps. Andrew, would you like to add?
I think we kind of are the bridge between culture and the technology that is fundamental to APAN. Even though it's often been asked why culture fits into the APAN context. We're always a rich part of the opening and closing ceremonies. Culture is absolutely essential for our region. We're a mix of different cultures, different heritage, different languages. And I think it's really important that the eCulture working group continue to promote cultural diversity, cultural exchange, to hear about cool projects like Life Languages and stuff that Hank's doing, and that cool chatbot. I was just wondering if one of your students would actually make a reverse chatbot to be talking to your chatbot. But anyway, yeah, I think we bring a range of skills, and I'd really like to just kind of pass the baton over to our new co-chairs for fresh and new initiatives and ideas. But we all hear about great and cool stuff. Please bring those presenters along, ask them to join our group. and let's expand culture and APAN as widely as we can.
Right, and we've had a wonderful Asia Connect project earlier, headed by Prof. Gu, our co-chair, the cyber performance, and we have a second project on the way, hopefully. But I think what we want is to actually invite and encourage people with different backgrounds to come with us and work together, multidisciplinary. So I think when 2006, when eCulture was formed, I think we were the only science and humanities social program. Otherwise, it's technology and science. And I think they realized that one particular thing that's gluing people together is actually the culture. When we talk about food, language, dance, music, art, that makes people talk. Okay, that will actually make people want to say something to each other because it's something that's common but very important in our life. So this eCulture meeting, I think the next meeting will be in China. We don't know where, but it might be hybrid. But definitely, please come back. And we are thinking, perhaps you can throw in some ideas as we the new co-chairs. We have Dr. Nurul, we have Prof. Tosh, we have Najwa, young blood. So give us more ideas on what we can do. And we'd like to find more speakers to come in and share what they're doing. So we've done e-learning, we've done cultural heritage, we've done language, we've done cyber performances, and what else? We've got languages like the applications and so on. So we want this to go on, and I don't know, I think we have a lot of people who come and listen in, and they are not working on culture, but they like to listen to us. So that's why we should keep going and going. Do you have anyone here to suggest another, what we want to do in China? Then maybe we can gather speakers there. Chris is saying, great idea. Never try AI bots chatting with each other. Well, that's something you can think of with Andrew. Throw it to him, something crazy. I think you can work together. And I think Chris, just now we talked about bots for the exhibition. So maybe do you have anything, some idea, Chris? Would like to say something here about the sensoria?
Yeah, sure. I also look at AR technology a fair bit, so I was quite impressed with the advanced applications that the Sensoria's exhibitions have really achieved. I wasn't aware that this region had such talent. Because you see a lot of these examples in Europe on YouTube and all that, right? But I wasn't aware that this region was so rich and so advanced, really. I use AR for more boring applications like
not boring.
Quality control issues, check whether the fruit is the right shape, that kind of things. But we're happy to look at heritage as well, because Singaporeans, unfortunately, are not very cultured. So that's something we hope to change among our neighbors.
They will not be happy. Well, the museum is hosting the exhibition, but the artists are all academics. Yeah, Najwa, are you there? They're all academics teaching, right? And I think Prof. Hasnol is the director of the museum, and he also teaches, does he?
Yes, we're all teaching while trying to do art.
Yeah.
So it takes longer than practicing artists. Practicing artists might take just a few weeks or months, but we took like a lot of
But you're juggling so many things
for
at the same time.
Very much juggle between classes and so-called research.
Yeah, all right. So maybe you and your team can start talking to Chris and just discuss, throw the idea around and see what you can come up with, and then present in the next meeting, right? Okay.
We do have a design school at Nanyang Poly as well. They do interaction design, and they do a lot of graphic driven work and game design as well.
Right.
I don't know them very well, but I wouldn't mind connecting it and don't use it only for business applications as well.
Right.
I think, but I disagree. But then again, I would always argue that cultural attractions can make a lot of cash as well from a business perspective.
All right. Maybe they can present in the next meeting, Chris, with you together. Introduce us to them, and rope them in. All right. Any other ideas? Let me see. Because of the pandemic, there are a lot of things on e-learning, I'm sure. We have had that presentation the last APAN, Nurul presented as well. So any suggestions? Yes, Suhaimi, Nafis, you have something?
Yes, Andrew, I remember the webcam or PTZ IP cam can actually allow user to control from far away. They can zoom in, zoom out, and pan. Would that be useful if we are to put at a certain corner, strategic corner, so that this PTZ webcam, IP cam can be used to actually enable to a certain period of time someone to actually have full control and do the panning and the zooming? Andrew.
Yeah, that's technically possible. What was your application of those images? So,
well, it could be either more or less having sort of like, how should I say it? At least there is a silent camera. At least you would be able to see the artifact in a museum, or yeah, or if you wish to do so, you could put audio along the line, and then depending on the time, you will say, okay, this time there will be a description on certain artifact for people who wish to know a little bit more, or they could actually zoom in on a plate of footnotes or legend. I know this has been going on for a long time, and I have not seen it. I may be wrong. I have not seen it. I've seen people putting it into an aquarium where there is more or less a scorpion. You know, you would be able to see a scorpion sleeping at night or during the day, catching their insect and in an aquarium with the camera in which you can control from far.
It's certainly doable.
Yeah, I think it's
just be really dependent on what the museum experience you were trying to portray. Yeah, as we've heard from a number of speakers over previous years, and I think it was Henk who was actually doing digitization of objects for reproduction and potential sale, or for printing locally at home, so that the flipped museum model where you're actually able to experience the textures and feel, even if it's not the right material, kind of feeds into coming to the museum for that experience. Also, to Chris's point, that using augmented reality and the scanners that are available in today's mobile phones really give us a great opportunity to do on-site digitization of artifacts, of a whole lot of things, as well as people's faces. So they also fit well into the TensorFlow model, and there's some libraries there that allow you to do that. So we'd really appreciate your guidance on how TensorFlow and other AI-based applications could be utilized in other parts of the region. That would be a great contribution.
Right, good. Yes.
So we need people who are familiar with TensorFlow and so on, and that would be great. And to apply TensorFlow on a chatbot is something which is this is the first time I heard even a chatbot being used as an education thing. I know they use the Kahoot or whatever, but this is a chatbot, so it is something new to me, in my opinion.
Yep, new to me too. Thanks, Chris,
So,
for bringing it.
We need to bring together technologists, artists, the creators, as well as the production of people behind the scenes. So I think together we all make the show, because that's what's needed to actually do art and make shows happen. So it's great to be part of a team of international people that are able to do great performances, do great stuff, make great art. This is just a really fun thing to do.
Right. I think we've for the past few sessions, we've not done a lot on food culture anymore. We used to have lots on food culture. And I think you started doing some videos on food culture. Right? And we have to bring that back somehow.
Let's hope this pandemic ends soon so we can all start getting back into the field and picking up all of the work that we've been so eager to do for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Well, at least just to add to that, Andrew and all, Prime Minister of Malaysia just announced that on the 1st of April, the border will be, the borders will be open, and from which all countries that can come to Malaysia for purpose of tourism to boost. So hopefully it will not be an April Fool's message, but it will be true, then it will be great. Because I think once we receive, then there will be reciprocating. We could go to Indonesia. At least we know with some difficulty that we could actually now technically go to Australia.
Right.
Yeah.
And Nurul can come and see the exhibition, Sensoria, in person. Yeah, Nurul?
Yes. But I've been working for 2 years during the pandemic, and I've been working remotely. So I discovered quite a lot of tools that allow us to continue doing what we're doing, that allow us to still make things in a different environment. So I found it quite useful. So I like that idea of food culture. I think that there's a way to do it if we still, with the current situation, there's a lot of restriction. I still think there's a way to do it. We can't taste the food, we can't smell the food, but we can portray the food. We can use other senses, visual basically, to actually discuss about the food. So if you go to YouTube currently, the young one, they're very into there's a food, what they call it, I can't remember the name. So almost like an unpacking video. So when someone unpacking and they hear the voice, there's the same thing with the food. People are eating and people are actually watching a video, someone else eating. They don't smell it, they don't taste it, but they're like, oh, that's really good, it looks good. So it's all the enhancements of this visual. So to your point, Dr. Farida, we could somehow create something like that. Not that we want to encourage, that there's a term for it. But young one will, kids nowadays, they will just sit in front of that YouTube and watch this video of people eating.
I do
too. Like, oh, that looks good. Oh, you do? So, okay. Young one and also everyone. So so that could be something that we can bring in the eCulture, because it's quite relevant, I think.
Yeah, and I'm sure rendang is there are so many varieties of rendang. It doesn't mean there's one, and something to share from Japanese cooking to Malaysian cooking to Western cooking. There's a lot of things that we can learn, simple tips, that we can share with each other. And I think that's something that's really fun. People can appreciate that. They can taste, they can see, they can imagine, and it all depends on the person describing the food. Sometimes I see horrid people who just eat it and say, oh, it's nice, it's delicious, but you don't tell me it's a bit sour, but not that salty. It's got a tinge of bitterness in the food or something because of the herb or something. That's a description that I think makes up what
it's a lot more descriptive. It's like when you're reading books. There's no visual, but you actually can play, the author play around with your imagination. This is almost similar, but there's a visual to enhance that. So also sort of to guide that imagination.
Right.
Also, Dr. Farida, I would like to just share with the team that here I'm part of this association where we just established called Australian Nusantara Heritage Centre. So this is a group where we try to focus on diversity and different culture and language and practices. on the Malay archipelago. It's still a baby, it's still like little small project, it hasn't go into that maturity yet. But I would like to perhaps to bring in one or two speakers and discuss about it maybe in next presentation, if it's possible.
Sure, we can have like 3 speakers, like a panel. We've not done that. So, and panelists, and then we can have people ask questions. It will be interesting. Share with us the Nusantara thing. I've heard about what you told me earlier. So all the best. Okay, Tosh, do you have anything? Thanks, Nurul.
Yes, it's related to food culture. I like to, bring back the farming culture, because these days, lots of pesticides are used for farming and destroying the ecosystem in the countryside, and also the bees, or the wildlife are damaged so much. So I like to bring that as one part, and also related to the farming, because farmers use the straw and bamboo and other fiber, plants to produce lots of things, goods, for the to enrich their life, to make their farming labor easier. And so that kind of craftsmanship or could be emphasized again, or highlighted again, so that we can learn from the historical culture and going into the digital era. And I bet we can pick up a lot from the people from the old days, and feeding into the new future life,
Yeah. I remember, Tosh, staying in one hotel in Tokyo, and every morning I will pass by this elderly couple. They would bring out a certain amount of tofu that they make, but we never got around to buying it because they close, they open at 9, by 11 it's all done. So this kind of things, is a traditional way of doing it, and using spring water. I've been watching videos. These are things that we should bring back so that our youth know what is traditional way of doing food, not from the factory, simple things, but it just tastes just as lovely and it's natural. Yeah, bring them back. So maybe we can have food culture next time as well, Nusantara food culture, and then I don't know.
I like Dr. Farida. I really like the Tosh idea on the that farming culture. Perhaps maybe we could also start looking at the sustainability and how this is related, because it is very much about what we're doing. We are trying to sustain that. How do we capture as much as we possible on the culture and document it, and that is also somehow in sustaining that. And the farm culture is also something, what Tosh was saying is about sustainability in some ways, and that could be a kind of a theme on one session, something about food and sustainability or something related on that, where farming can come in, agriculture, or how do we sustain, how do people actually sustain food in the olden days. And
right.
So I'm not going to go in detail, but I could go on that. But yeah, that could be an interesting topic.
Yeah. We could actually organize it in such a way that you talk about, you get your team on Nusantara. Tosh can talk about farming traditional methods and community work. Andrew is a jack of so many hats. He can choose one topic. And they will find speakers, to come in and contribute. That will be good. And I think in China, there are, a lot of traditional things still going on there, which need to be captured. I always find the eCulture meetings a little bit too short in terms of throwing ideas. We get all these nice ideas going on. is just executing it. This is when I think we should meet more frequent, at least in the co-chair and chair sessions, and we can bring in friends to discuss what is coming for the next session. And I have Andrew, you and I, we have 3 new co-chairs. Make them work and bring in new ideas. All right, so we have others here. Is there anything else you'd like to share? Some of us are here, but I don't see any of you saying anything. Is there anything you'd like to suggest? We have another 5 minutes, and then I see Fiona here, Pradeep Kumar Das, Srikan. Yeah, anything you'd like to share with us? Owais Muhammad. Okay, a few of you. I'm sure there's lots of your cultural heritage, language, and applications that you have that you can share with us. So do come back and share with us to make it more lively, a change of things. Yes.
Yes, hi.
Hi.
Hi, Dr. Farida. Yeah,
Fiona?
and yes, hi. Well, finally, we kind of meet online.
Yeah.
Because we've been communicating a bit on via email. Yeah, thank you for the invitation to to come to actually observe and and to sit in and actually view everyone's presentation and their projects, their exhibitions and bots and all. Wow, it's really interesting. I'm from Sunway University. So actually my background is well, I have a kind of a mixed background of illustration and graphic design, but at the same time, I'm also a PhD graduate from the in visual arts. So so anyway, basically I mean at Sunway University, because I'm with the School of Arts, and I'm also under the Department of Art, Design and Media. So actually, perhaps something, I'm not too sure if there's something that I could perhaps bring to the table or to this group. I could even bring in my colleagues, from the again the design disciplines like graphic, multimedia, and also we have interior architecture as well. So we have like all these like basically they're I would say urban designers, and interior designers as well. So we have architects as well. So basically, we have our own research centers, and basically, Dr. Farida, you know Prof. Harold, right, from the CRCDM. It's basically a research center under the School of Arts, as well. So basically, perhaps something that could be shared, design related, perhaps sustainable design. Perhaps and again the various disciplines in design, right. Graphic and interior architecture and whatnot. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's a great idea, Fiona, because we'd like to see how you present your design. Is there interaction with the customer? I don't know. Something, if you can do it in digital, we are more than happy to. And I'm sure you and Najwa can start talking. You're all from School of Arts. Nurul was from the School of Arts as well. Right. That's why we're like flock of feathers here. I'd like you to get talking to each other, not just a one-off meeting, bye-bye, that's it. Okay, it should be a long-term relationship. And please, yes, tell your colleagues about us. We'd like new people to come in, new young people, Andrew.
Okay.
We can't be here forever, so we need them to take the torch, and do things interesting. What Andrew and I find interesting might not be interesting to you, so you tell us what is interesting to you and share with us, so we all learn. It's a learning process. Thank you so much, Fiona.
Yes, okay, thank you.
Next time.
Yes, right. Thank you.
Great, thank you. All right, thank you.
Anybody else? To answer your question,
yes,
there is, but not a complete set. We've video recorded it all since APAN53 though, but we reconstructed the website, and I don't think it's all back up in place in an archive, but I can check out with our secretariat.
What was the question? Oh, space.
Is there a space where all the presentations have been archived, so that we'll look back in the past?
True. This is something, I don't know, eCulture, I think each WG working group has some money, can we ask for storage, or APAN has enough? We don't have to ask.
APAN has enough. It's just that the website was basically rebuilt, and I'm just not sure where it is, and I haven't gone looking, but I archived the old one, so I know we've got content going back to APAN 2 or 3, I think.
Good. And then or we could have our own storage first, isn't it?
I was just thinking we can even archive in the Gmail storage for now. It doesn't have to be a really a complicated one. If we have access to a storage, any storage, like if we all use Gmail, we can just put all the files in there until we work on the website. We can always bring it into website, but at least we have a two ways of archiving. One is in Gmail account, in the Gmail storage, and then website.
Okay. Yes,
and we all can have access to it, so it will be easy. We all can see it for now.
Yep, that was the idea with Vimeo. So good, wonderful. So we started talking. Let's not stop anymore. I think there are 3 new messages. I'm trying to read 3 new messages. Okay, yeah. Fiona and so on. So you can go to the website. Our abstracts are there. Our emails are there. You can start talking to each other. Yeah. Okay. I think that's it for the eCulture meeting. Thank you so much for attending. We have just one last agenda, which is Andrew. Would you like to talk about it now?
Yeah.
Okay.
So based on all of us suddenly being addicted to YouTube and food videos, chateau videos, every other type of home-produced vlog, around 2.5 years ago, we had actually started an Asia Connect program, which was to supply 5 of the APAN partner economies, Pakistan, India, Nepal, Bangladesh, and Malaysia, with a set of 2 iPhones, a complete set of camera gear, an iMac Pro for editing on, lights, microphones, tripods. However, we were about to start the first week when the pandemic hit, and it basically has disrupted the purchasing process of the equipment for around 2.5 years. Our partners in this have been remarkably patient, reaching out to vendors to get quotation after quotation after quotation. There's been severe supply chain issues in many of the countries, and also basically a need for additional administrative support because the purchasing as an EU project needs to come through TN. So I'm hoping that after many rounds of quotes from all of the vendors who are now getting really tired of us asking the same questions after we've let their quotes expire, that we will be in a position to make a call on this. My hope is that I will be able to seek an exemption to the EU purchasing requirements based on having all of these quotes, and go with our original plan, which was to sample the 3 largest vendors in the US, Amazon, B&H Photo, and Videorama, who collectively had quoted significantly below any of the local prices that we could obtain. However, this has complications in terms of import duties. So that my next stage in this process is to request an exemption to purchasing and a recalculation based on the savings to support funding the import duties or taxation to deliver the equipment. I'm staying confident on this, but it has been a remarkably frustrating process that I would have hoped we would have had equipment so we could have been documenting all of the aspects of our lives during the pandemic, and have the production capabilities to do things like support Najwa's project with a great set of cameras to actually capture it, to support, you know, a lot of the amazing projects that people are doing, but they just didn't have the equipment to actually capture it on. So I apologize that this has taken so long, but I'm hopeful that we will actually come up with a resolution project.
Done, Andrew?
Done. That's the story. Hopefully we'll know next week one way or another.
Short and sweet. Okay, and we've been waiting for a whole while. I don't know. I hope it's positive. Okay, so thank you, everyone. Can we take a good snapshot? If everybody can just open up your camera so that we can smile. And then who's going to do it? Andrew, you're going to do it? Or Nurul?
I can do it. I'll do a snap.
Yeah, please.
Okay.
Smile.
Now, ready? 1, 2, big smile. One more time. Want to do a bit of a different facial reaction? 1, 2, 3. So I got 2 snapshot, and I'll share with Dr. Farida.
Right, and I think what we can do now, Nurul, you were asking about this question. We've got last APAN's names and email. Maybe this time we can combine together, and I'll dig out some others that I've got, you know, compiled somewhere, and we can do a group email to blast off some ideas and see who comes back and wants to join us or join in a discussion. We can set the time. Yeah.
And we always have and Zoom capability that we can use between the meetings. So just reach out to either me or APAN Secretariat, and they'll be happy to set it up for us.
Oh, good, wonderful. So we can meet in this setting. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Okay, thank you, everyone. Take care of yourself. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Stay very safe.
Nice seeing everyone. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Sayonara.
Sayonara. Bye.
Sayonara.
Thank you.
Sayonara. Thank you.
Oh. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Well done.
Bye.
Bye.